Fallout New Vegas is an amazing game with an amazing perk system that has a lot of very fun or very strong perks to take. We're not going to be talking about those in this video. We're going to be taking a look at the 10 worst perks in Fallout New Vegas. Some of these do have minor bonuses, which we will be acknowledging throughout this video, but for the most part, I would say steer clear of most of these, if not all of these, unless of course you're going with a character that's supposed to be a themed run, in which case then do whatever you would like. So let's begin this with a tie for our number 10 spot. This is between two perks that basically do the same thing. This is Computer Whiz and Infiltrator. These two perks are both accessible at level 18, so long as you have 70 in either lockpicking or science, and then the corresponding special stat that goes along with that. So for Computer Whiz, it's 7 intelligence. For Infiltrator, it is 7 perception. What Infiltrator does is you get another attempt when lockpicking so long as you've broken a lock. The reason why this is bad is because you never need to break a lock in order to try it again. The only time that you would ever break a lock is when you hit the auto try to see if you can get it, in which case then the lock can break. This is based on a percentage according to your lockpicking skill and of course the difficulty of the lock. If the lock breaks, then you get another chance at it, making this one slightly more useful than Computer Whiz, because what Computer Whiz does is gets you another attempt to hack the same computer. So normally you would have 4 attempts to hack a computer. If you fail all those 4 attempts, then it locks you out of the computer. There is a way around this though, and that is simply use up 3 of your attempts, and then you can either search for the reset on the computer, and in doing this, it gets rid of some of the duds as well as it resets your attempts, so you get another 4 attempts. Or another option that you could do is use up your 3 attempts, leave the computer, and then come back to it, and then you get another 4 attempts on the computer. The password will change every time you do this, but with this you can infinitely try computer passwords until you eventually open up the computer, making both these perks really not necessary in any way. Coming in at number 9, we have Tag. Tag is an extremely simple skill. This requires you to be level 16. You can take this perk once, and it makes it so you can get a 4th tag skill. At the very start of New Vegas, as well as the majority of the Fallout games, you can pick up to 3 skills to tag. This will get you an extra 15 points in any one of these skills. This allows you to pick a 4th skill that you can also get 15 points in. The reason why tagged is not a really great skill is because it's just not as efficient as simply buffing up your intelligence in order for you to get more skill points. And it's not as efficient as going with other skills like Educated or Comprehension early on that will get you a whole lot more value than Tagged will. The other downside to Tag is that you have to pick one of the skills that you haven't already picked. And if you've played through New Vegas or any of the other Fallout games for that matter, there's a good chance that you picked 3 skills that are very important to you or to your build when you were starting out with the Tag skills. So you might go with something like Repair, Guns, and Speech. Your 4th skill, maybe you'll put it in science or lockpicking or something like that. So there is options for this, and I did have to take this perk when I did my 1 intelligence build, when I was trying to get 100 in every single skill. Tagged was actually a necessity in that build. Coming in at our number 8 spot, we have Junk Rounds. This is a DLC perk from the Sierra Madre, or from the Dead Money add-on, and what this perk allows you to do is craft ammunition from scrap metal and from tin cans. These do have to be intact tin cans though. They cannot be bent tin cans because those don't work for whatever reason. I'm not entirely sure why. You also do need the appropriate ammunition casing, so this requires you to have 1 scrap metal and 5 tin cans. Again, perfectly tin cans, they can't be bent. You can make a single bullet from that, which usually isn't really that great of a deal. Sometimes it could be okay if you're trying to get 45-70 early on or 50 cal early on. Those are about the only 2 options because every other bullet type you can get much easier than this. There is one big advantage that Junk Rounds does have though, and it's not taking it early on so that you can make those bullets, and it's not so that you can kind of make use of it when you go to Sierra Madre. The big advantage that it has is that it and all the other Sierra Madre perks are bugged. So if you take any one of them or any 2 of them at levels 2 and 4 and then leave good springs and go to reset your character, you can keep those perks permanently, and you can still pick 2 more perks, making Junk Rounds one of 4 perks that you could potentially take from there. That being said, it is still one of the worst perks from the Sierra Madre DLC. 2 of the other ones are far better. Light Touch is by far the best one from the Sierra Madre, and Old World Gourmet is the second one. At number 7, we have Lead Belly. Lead Belly is a level 6 perk that requires either 5 endurance or 40 survival, interestingly enough that you could have either one of those, and this makes it so that you have 50% less radiation when consuming irradiated food or drink. This is already not a great perk in Fallout New Vegas as it is, because most food does not have high amounts of radiation, at least not to the point where you would really have to worry about it. The other problem with this is that it's not very difficult to get rid of your radiation in Fallout New Vegas. You're probably going to get plenty of Radaway or Rad-X, which I would recommend you take that before eating food in the first place. And then the other option is you could always just go to a doctor and have them fix it for you for a fairly low price. However, it gets even worse if you have the Old World Blues DLC, because there's an implant in Old World Blues, the implant Y3, which does the exact same thing, but it does it better. It makes it so any sort of drink that you have doesn't have any radiation in it, no matter what the radiation level is of the water. This doesn't affect food, but again, food usually isn't a huge deal, and even if you tried to get the most irradiated food in the game, it still doesn't give you that many rads. It's kind of funny that they put Lead Belly in basically all the Fallout games, and it's never been useful in just about any of them. It's always kind of just been a meme perk that I guess you would take if you had no other things to throw in, because its requirements are really easy to meet in all these games. Coming in at number 6, we have Broad Daylight. Broad Daylight is a perk from the Lonesome Road DLC. You have to be level 36 in order to get this, so you do have to be quite high leveled, and its effect is that the Pit-Boy light no longer affects your sneak. A lot of people don't even know that the Pit-Boy has a light. In order to actually turn on the light for the Pit-Boy, just hold in your inventory button and you'll turn on the light. This can be useful for exploring darker areas in the game, especially inside certain buildings where sometimes the light is kind of odd. Lighting in Fallout is always kind of odd. So this one is just kind of insulting. I guess you don't need any requirement for this, so you can throw it onto any build. But even so, what build would ever want this? Even if you're going with a sneaking assassin build, even if you're going with a sneaking melee assassin build, you're probably never going to have your light on when you're actually trying to stab something or trying to hit something with your chainsaw or whatever it might be. It doesn't matter at all if you're playing in a sniper role, because you're going to be so far away that the enemies won't even register that there is a light there. And it's even more insulting that it's level 36. You have to be well into the game to actually even get this perk. At number 5, we have Mile in Their Shoes. This one is another DLC perk. This one comes from Old World Blues. You have to be level 20 to get it, and you need only 25 survival in order to get this. What this one does is, after you consume Night Stalker squeezings, you get 1 perception, 5 poison resist, and plus 5 sneak for a limited amount of time. This gets you the other effects from Night Stalker squeezings, which is that you get a slight amount of healing and a slight amount of radiation. So I kind of like the idea of this perk, of having a perk that's tied to an item that you can use in-game. Unfortunately, the item just doesn't really help you, and the bonuses are so neglectable that you probably aren't even going to want to seek this out in the first place. Having another +1 perception barely matters. Maybe it will matter in order to try to do harder locks, but magazines and other skills are just simply better for that, as well as just other consumable items are far better for that. Poison resist rarely matters. You're not getting poisoned that much in this game, and just another +5 doesn't help. Just buffing endurance helps more than that. And +5 sneak doesn't really help when there's a consumable in the game that makes you invisible. Just use the stealth boy and you'll be fine. Coming in at number 4, we have Irradiated Beauty. Irradiated Beauty is another Lonesome Road DLC perk. This one can be got at level 22. It does require 8 endurance in order to get this, and what this effect does is that whenever you sleep, it removes all of your radiation on normal difficulty. If you're playing on the hardcore difficulty, this only removes 100 rads each time that you sleep. By the time you're hitting into the level 20s, you've probably already stocked up on a large amount of meds, and particularly Rad-X and Radaway, so radiation really shouldn't be that big of a factor to you. The only way I can see this being potentially useful is if you intentionally irradiate yourself and you have a perk like Rad Child, which is a whole lot better than this perk, in order to get its healing benefits, and then just sleep it off so that you can get rid of all the radiation without needing to talk to a doctor or take your Radaway. Either way, that's still a very niche scenario, and there's just frankly better ways of getting rid of radiation. Coming in at our number 3 spot, we have Alertness. Alertness is another Lonesome Road DLC perk. This one you need to be level 12, and you need to have a perception that is less than 10, but at least 6 or more. Kind of a weird requirement there to have this. The effect that this has is that while you're crouching and motionless, you gain 2 perception. So perception is already not a great special stat to begin with. The only things that this can kind of do is show you further away enemies on your compass, which you will likely just be able to see with your eyes or with a scope on a gun. The other thing that this could be useful for is that it could get you a slight amount, meaning up to 4 more lockpicking which may be useful, but again, there is a whole lot better options in order to buff this. Taking different chems to buff your perception is a great option. Having clothing that buffs your lockpicking, or whatever skill you're trying to go for, so either energy weapons or explosives. That's about it. There's not really another reason that you will want perception. A common thing that I've heard, and that is a myth, is that perception also affects your sniper rifles. It does not. It doesn't affect them whatsoever. It just affects how far away you can see stuff on the compass and those 3 skills. That's it. Coming in at number 2, we have another Lonesome Road DLC perk. There's a lot of really bad perks in Lonesome Road. This one is called Roughin It. This one you have to be level 28 or higher, and you need to have 100 survival in order to get it. So you have to have your survival skill completely maxed out, which you may have if you're playing on hardcore. Roughin It's effect is that you get the well-rested bonus when you sleep outside, even in an unowned bed. The well-rested status effect just gets you 10% more XP for the next 8 hours, I believe. That's not good at all. You can just sleep in a bed that's already owned and get this normally, so it's already in the game. This one I kind of get. It's supposed to be, you know, a cowboy perk. You're outdoors, you're roughing it. In Lonesome Road, you can also get the bedroll, so you can carry your bed with you, and then you can get the well-rested perk from that. It just doesn't matter, though. Getting another 10% XP rarely matters in the first place, but having to go through even more steps to do this makes it even less of a desirable trait. If you really want to get this, just get one of the houses that you can in the games, whether that be at the Lucky 38 or the Dinobite Hotel or the Sink or wherever you want to go, and then you can just get the well-rested, go outside and kill stuff, do quests, whatever it is, so that you can get that 10% XP. You don't need another perk to help you out with this. And then the number 1 worst perk of Fallout New Vegas is In Shining Armor. This is one of the other 4 level 2 dead money perks that you can get in the game, and this one is even worse than Junk Rounds, which we talked about earlier. This one requires you to have 20 repair and 70 science, which I don't think you can get at level 2. Maybe you can if you do skilled plus good natured plus tag science and you go with full intelligence, then maybe you can get this at level 2. I don't know, I haven't actually tried calculating that out. You might not even be able to get it there. But even if you could, it really doesn't matter because the perk is completely bugged and doesn't do anything. So what In Shining Armor is supposed to do is whenever you are wearing metal armor or sunglasses, then you get bonus resistance towards laser weapons or energy weapons. Whenever you're wearing those sunglasses, you get an additional 2 damage threshold, which is okay, and the metal armor gives you another 5 damage threshold. There are a couple problems with this though. Having this amount of damage threshold is just not that great, as well as since it only affects energy weapons, there's very few enemies in the game that actually use energy weapons. There's a couple robots that do, and the Brotherhood, and that's about it. Maybe the Van Graffs if you want to throw them in there too, but most enemies just use regular old bullets or explosives in their guns. And if this was just tied to metal armor, as it says in the description, I don't know of anybody who really likes to run around in metal armor. If you're going to go with heavy armor, you're probably going to go with power armor. I should also explain the reason why this perk doesn't work, because it's actually implemented into the game correctly. It's just the writing is not correct, or the coding is not correct, because this says for energy weapons, but no weapon in the game is classified as an energy weapon. So that's why it doesn't work and doesn't give you anything. It's very odd, and there are a couple mods that can fix this, which is kind of nice. But in the base game, In Shining Armor is just the worst perk in the game because it literally does nothing. And even if it did do something, it would still be probably in the bottom 10 perks. Now, there is still a whole lot more bad perks in Fallout New Vegas, and I would like to talk about them. So I might make a part 2 of this. Tell me what your guys' thoughts are down in the comments below, and tell me your top 10 worst perks in Fallout New Vegas. Thank you so very much for watching this. If you'd like to see more of my New Vegas content, there should be a list right over here. Thanks again, and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye-bye.